Gloomstalker is easily one of the strongest subclasses for Ranger, and one you can do a ton of damage with in Baldur's Gate 3. In this video today, we're going to go over my Gloomstalker Legolas themed Archer build. I think I'm just calling it Legolas because it sounded like a good idea, but I'm not necessarily going to be going crazy with that theme. Unlike my other theme builds, this is actually one of the top tier builds with a ton of damage to take advantage of. I will say though, I'll be taking a suboptimal route and be using bows rather than hand crossbows. I just prefer the visual appeal of a ranger using a bow, but please, as always, play the game how you want, not how I am saying. Now, this is your first time on my channel. The way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge in my videos so you can decide if it's the right one for you. So with that being said, let me break this down. We'll be starting out as a rogue, and immediately at level 2 we'll go Ranger, choosing the Gloomstalker subclass all the way up to level 6. This will get you extra attack, and once there you'll pivot back into Rogue and take either Assassin or Thief depending on the focus you have for the character. So overall, your character will be 5 Ranger, 7 Rogue, and we'll break down why we've gone with that split split later in the video. And that's really the gist of this video. That's all you wanted to know. Please feel free to shut the video down and go become a Prince of Mirkwood. Before you head out though, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun action. Each one of those helps me out in a huge way. I currently have 89% unsubscribed viewership on the channel, and that's a metric I'm trying to change here before the year's end, so every little bit helps. You can jump ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters with the timeline in the description, and if you need help with any other subject in Baldur's Gate 3, check out my playlist linked below at the end of the video. Let's get started here on our best Ranger Legolas build for Baldur's Gate 3. Moving into character creation, let's have some fun. Now, you can go with whatever race you want. This doesn't need to be an elf, let alone a wood elf. I have chosen that because I made this a Legolas build, but you could go with half elf instead if you want to change the armor, the proficiencies down here. It's really whatever you want to go with. I don't really necessarily have any strong inclinations anyway as to specific options here because we're going with a bow and arrow. That's our emphasis, right? We're not going, say, with a melee weapon. Look, the half-orc, the savage attack, when you land a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, you deal an extra dice of weapon damage. So it's like a lot of the things that kind of come to mind, like the tieflings and the Zariel tieflings, they get the branded smite and the searing smite. So those things kind of trigger more with the melee weapons and less with range weapons. So a lot of the stuff, I think it just kind of comes down to you and what your preferences are. Even say if you want to play, did it just completely change my character? Usually it does. Oh, there we go. If you want to say, make a Dritz Doerden, you could go with a drow rather than a wood elf here. Both would fit very well into this example. Unfortunately, you can't be a beastmaster using a panther, else I would have made a Dritz character, hands down. Human's also a pretty good option here if you want to increase get an extra skill and proficiency, as well as increase your carrying capacity by a quarter. Halflings are always fun because of their lucky attribute here. You roll a 1 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can re-roll the die and let's use the new roll. So, and Gith I always will tout here, non-crackhead version, because they're just such a fun race with so many cool cantrips to get advantage of and a lot of really cool martial prodigy things. But let's go ahead and have some fun here with our elf. There we go. We've created our Legolas, and our class is not going to be Ranger to start. It's going to be Rogue. Now, the big thing that the reason we want to do this is it's going to unlock sneak attack as a ranged attack from the start of the game. Now, sneak attack has some interesting connotations because you kind of think of sneak attack and rogues and you think immediately you need to backstab someone. It's not like that in this game. You deal extra damage to a foe you have advantage against, which can be if they're blinded, any number of things that could give you advantage against them. Your sneak attack is going to work. So if you are actually sneaking, it's going to give you an advantage. But also, you can use this attack if you have an ally within 5 feet of the target and you don't have disadvantage. A disadvantage would be if you are threatened in melee range, that would cause a disadvantage on your range attack. And what's important here is that sneak attack scales every other level, well, every odd level of Rogue that you have. It's why we're taking Rogue to level 7, because it will do more damage. You can see it does plus 1d6 here. It'll do plus 2d6 and 3d6, so on and so forth ad infinitum. But that's why we're starting with Rogue. It's our initial starting point just to get that sneak attack online, because it's going to make Gloomstalker, when we jump into it, real deadly. Real deadly. For background, go with whatever you want. I always recommend that you strongly roleplay your character. Have some fun with this. You're playing a single player narrative game. Make the decisions for your character as if they were the background you had in mind. Are you some form of former soldier that was a scout for an army, and you've come back and now you're a mercenary, a soldier of fortune, and you kind of use those skills to be this Gloomstalker, ranger, rogue kind of character? Or are you an outlander? You grew up far from the cities. Are you a folk hero, kind of like the frontier bladesman, the blade of the frontier? Whatever it is, choose a background that makes sense for you and the RP you have in mind for your character. If you want like kind of just an easy min-max option here, go ahead and go with Guild Artisan, because this gives you skills in persuasion and in insight. And if I jump over here into abilities, what you'll see here is that we have a stealth proficiency because we're a wood elf, and we have a perception proficiency because we are a wood elf as well. So that's kind of also why I've gone with wood elf. It plays very well into what we're doing, and we move additional distance because wood elf has this. They get 5 extra movement speed. So they can overall move 5 movement speed faster than anyone else if they're buffed up through the gills. So that's kind of how I've gone about this. And also with starting with rogue, we get our skills with expertise. So what I would do here, let's go ahead and kind of make this work here. So I'd probably, for my skills with expertise, we would probably choose stealth and sleight of hand, depending on the role of the character you want. If you don't want to stealth around and you kind of just want to be, you know what, I'm going to go balls to the wall and be upfront and personal, or at least out in the open character as far as your archery goes, then just don't put the expertise into this. Drop it into something like insight or perception, because you'll use those a lot in conversation. But also as well, you could do it into persuasion if you want to help out with that. But you can miss insight rolls in conversation, and it's pretty unfortunate. So go with whatever one you want there in that case, whatever role you have set for the character. And then for your last 3 proficiencies, investigation's not bad. You can put athletics here, and the point you'd put athletics in this for is to resist being shoved. You wouldn't be doing much of the shoving because you have a low strength score. But then you could put 1 or 2 points into deception or intimidation or performance, whatever kind of conversation skill you want to dip into. And another reason I've gone with Wood Elf is it just frees up all those proficiencies to really have a lot of fun and take advantage of. But as a rogue, you're going to have no shortage of skill, expertises, and proficiencies. So I'd go with probably something like this, depending again too, if you want to go evil, go deception, again, whatever it is. Now for our actual stats, let's clear these and let's kind of take a look here. So you have to make a decision for yourself when you're playing through your character, if the character is going to do something good or bad with anti-Ethel. And if you don't know who that is, I'm not going to say anything more other than the fact that if you do something, you will get a +1 to any ability score. If you decide to take that route, it's up to you. That would mean that I would start here with 17 dexterity. But I'm going to assume you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to assume you don't even get that ability score, and we're just going to build this out. So if you're watching this video, you're like, well, why didn't you do that? It's because I've decided not to. So we're going to take these two to 16 respectively, because they are really going to be our primary stats. 16 is going to be for the wisdom that we're going to be using for our ranger spells, and of course 16 is going to be for the dexterity that we're using for all of our stealth ability, all of our ranged attacks. The AC bonus we're going to get from it. Dexterity is really going to be the bread and butter here. Now we're going to bring our constitution up to 14 here, and from here it depends on this character. Is this my main character? I'm probably going to want to boost charisma a little bit. Is this not my main character? Well, then I don't really need to. You can boost up your intelligence if you want. You can put up your strength so you have at least 0 on your strength here. Same thing with intelligence if you want. This is really going to be kind of dealer's choice. Like if it was my main character, I would probably do this. I personally like having a little bit more strength on my main character. It's why on my Lock-It-In build, I put my strength at like 12, because if you're wearing heavy armor, it can be a pain in the ass to deal with your encumbrance. So 12 is good for your main character because this gives you +1 to all of your charisma checks. So when you take a look over here at deception or persuasion, we at least have a little bit more there, a +3, because of our innate proficiencies and whatnot. So main characters, I like to have a higher charisma roll, but it kind of just depends on you and what you want for your character. You will make intelligence checks in the game, but you can get away with keeping this at 8 and strength at 8, so don't really worry about it. But this is how I would put my stats for a Ranger Gloomstalker Rogue build. Jumping into the progression for this character after character creation, we are now immediately going to pivot off of Rogue and go into Ranger. And from here, we can choose a lot of things, favored enemies, stuff like that. But a pretty good one here would probably just simply be Bounty Hunter. Now, the reason here is that it's going to allow us to have creatures you hit with ensnaring strike have disadvantage on their snaring throws, on their saving throws, allowing you just to kind of get a little more hits on target, downrange, whatever it is. But it also helps you in just kind of pushing things through. Now, I would also go with proficiency in sleight of hand if you did not choose sleight of hand during your kind of initial outbreak of your character, of course, right? It depends on how you went with that. But going with a Wasteland Wanderer of cold, fire, or poison, probably fire, because it's one of the more prevalent damage types you'll deal with, because you can always just cast protection against poison on yourself if you so wish as a ranger. So probably something like this. If you did go with sleight of hand, if you didn't, I would just choose Urban Tracker. But there you go, we would just choose that to begin with, and we'd push on to our next level as a ranger. And here we would choose our spells. You can just try to choose Ensnaring Strike for one. It's going to be a pretty important one. Also, you can go with Hunter's Mark, and Hunter's Mark is nice because this just gives you an additional 1 to 6 damage whenever you hit with a weapon attack. And that's going to be pretty crucial for us. It is a concentration ability, but the nice thing though about Hunter's Mark is when you kill someone who has it, you can just cast it for free without spending a spell slot. So I'm going to just choose it in this location. You could also go with something like Long Shredder down the road. It's a ritual spell, so you can cast it on everyone you want. And since it's a ritual spell, it does not actually use any spell slots, which is great. Fighting style, you know what we're doing. We're doing archery. This is an archer, +2 bonus to range damage with attacks, weapon attacks. Go to our next level, and this is where we will choose our subclass. Just do like that. Fine, sure. So here is where we go into Gloomstalker. Now, you could go with a Hunter if you so wish, but Hunter isn't necessarily going to fit the overall scope I have in mind for this class. Gloomstalker is all about the Alpha Strike. So let's break this down. Subclass feature, you specialize in taking out foes swiftly and ruthlessly. You gain a +3 bonus to initiative, which is really good because we already get a +3 from our base initiative with dexterity, right? So now we have a juicy amount of initiative bonus. Throughout the game, you're going to see hide armor, which is going to give you 1 or 2, depending on if it's hide armor +1 or just base hide armor. You can use that up until you get to the more specialized armor in the game, and it's going to make you so much better. If you started with a human, you get dark vision. Otherwise, you get superior dark vision. Actions, you're going to get dread, ambush, or hide. So if you went with a rogue, you're probably like, well, man, you got rid of that bonus action that allows me to hide. Well, now you get it right here for Gloomstalker. So now in a typical combat route, if it's after the first turn, you can go ahead and use your bonus action to go into stealth. And then your next, or even in that primary turn, you can use your primary action to then use a stealth attack, a sneak attack, right? So this enables you to kind of get that wombo combo going. But you also have Umbral Shroud. Wrap yourself in the shadows to become invisible if you are obscured. So as long as you are obscured, you can just go ahead and pop into being invisible, which is lovely. This does cost an action though, right? So just kind of know the difference between the two. And you also get Disguise Self, so if there's any items you want to use that are relegated to a specific race, cast Disguise Self, use the item, and then go ahead and go about your business. As long as you don't take that item off, you never have to recast Disguise Self. And if you do, you just simply do that. Who cares? So that's what we're going to do here. And then we're going to pop ourselves into level 4 Ranger, which allows us to talk about our feats. So the very first one we're going to go with is going to be Sharpshooter. It's important. It's a linchpin of the class. Your ranged weapons do not receive penalties from high ground rules. Ranged weapon attacks with weapons you are proficient with have a -5 penalty to their attack roll, but deal an additional 10 damage. And you can toggle this on or off in the passive section of your abilities. It is stupid good and crucial because especially removing the high ground penalties is very, very, very huge, right? When you attack from above, you gain +2 bonus to attack rolls. So you'll always get that. But when you attack from below, you receive a -2 penalty. You'll never get that anymore. So that is why this is a really good one, in addition to the just increased raw damage you do, which is lovely. Now, outside of that, alert is very good because it almost guarantees that you're going to go first across your +6 innate initiative, +5 initiative here, and then plus any initiative bonuses you're getting from your armor. That's a base 11 initiative plus whatever armor initiative bonuses you get. You're going to go first, and you want to go first when we talk about assassin because you want that alpha strike online. Now, another one is crossbow expert if you want to go with the dual wielding hand crossbows. When you dual wield hand crossbows, whenever you attack, your action and your bonus action will both shoot one crossbow each. You can turn it off so it just uses your primary action. But for this video, I'm using a bow. I like bows more. The hand crossbow route, to me personally, is a little too gamey and a little too cheesy. When you make a crossbow attack within melee range, the attack rolls do not have disadvantage. So threaten never reduces your chance to hit, basically. Your piercing shot also inflicts gaping wounds for twice as long. So you get a little bit more advantage out of that. Those are the two you use together. You use sharpshooter first and then crossbow expert, and they just do wonders for you. Outside of that, though, I mean, you definitely want to look at alert. Like I was saying, ability improvement is always really nice. Mobility is really cool, or mobile, because your movement speed increases and your difficult terrain doesn't slow you down when you dash. That is very nice. You can get that from a ring, but it's nice just to have it built into your character. If you move after making a melee attack, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from your target, which is always really nice. Savage attacker here. This is nice for melee weapons, so if you wanted to take this and make this into a melee build, you definitely could. Use Savage Attacker, it's going to help you out right there. But outside of it, those are the ones that I would really focus on because they're the ones that really make the most sense for you. You can go with something like Medium Armor Master. When you wear medium armor, it doesn't impose disadvantage on stealth checks. The bonus to armor class you gain from dexterity modifier also becomes +3 rather than +2. If you want to wear a lot of medium armor in the game. But I will be honest with you, there is a medium armor that I'm literally wearing right now that it basically gives you this trait plus all of your dex bonus. So I wouldn't worry about it. If I really didn't want to choose crossbow expert and I wanted to choose sharpshooter, and I was like, well, what do I want to go with after that? Honestly, I'd probably just do that. Just get more raw dexterity into my character. It's going to make me better for everything that I do. It's going to increase my AC. It's going to increase my damage. It's going to make me better at stealthing. It's just, it's your prime stat here. So I would probably go with something like that if I really wanted to, but I'm going to choose sharpshooter for what we're talking about right now. So now we are character level 6. We've just unlocked level 5 of our ranger, which gives us that extra attack. You can make an additional free attack after making an unarmed attack or weapon attack. What that means is that now when we use our primary action to do an attack, we also do an extra attack, and it doesn't allow, we don't have to make another action. It doesn't take us another primary action to do, right? We just simply use it and we're good to go, and we take as much advantage of it. It's nice because anytime you do any kind of class that does melee or even range damage, it's nice to just be able to get that online as fast as possible. So from there too, we also get our Misty Step capability here. This is a lovely spell because it gives us a lot of mobility. Now, keep in mind too, you can get Misty Step from tons of sources in this game, but either way, it's just a really nice one to have, and I really like it. So from here, we're pivoting off. Now we're finished with Ranger. Here's protection from poison like I was talking about, but spike growth is really good because you're going to be at ranged, so locking things down and making it so they can't move around very quickly while also taking damage for every single step that they take is great, or for every 5 feet, is really, really nice. So either one of these is going to be really good for you, but you're done with your spells. And at this point, lock in all the spells that you want. I think 1, 2, 3 plus either spike growth or, I don't know, maybe protection from poison, kind of dealer's choice at this point, but I'd probably go with spike growth. The only way to change these now is to respec the character. So just keep that in mind. You are a ranger. That's how this works. So we'll press accept here, and we'll jump over to rogue again. You can keep going down this if you want to go into more favorite enemy and stuff like that, but the level 7 benefits of Gloomstalker are not very good. So we're going to just get level 2 into Rogue. This is going to give us a bonus action for Hide, which we already have, but it's nice to have, I guess, another one. The big one, though, is bonus action for Dash and bonus action for Disengage. So we can use those to get around the battlefield quite a bit. And now you have a decision to make. Is it going to be Thief or is it going to be Assassin? So here are your options. Thief or Assassin. Do you want an extra bonus action? Fast hands, gain an additional bonus action. Do you want to use that action to go into stealth? Do you want to use that action to dash or disengage or quaff another potion? Whatever it is, having a second bonus action is a very strong capability in this game. You can cast Hunter's Sight, then go ahead and cast, is it Prey Mark, Hunter's Dibble Dabble, whatever the spell is. And then you can go into stealth, 2 bonus actions. And then you can use your primary action to attack something with sneak attack, which you'll then be able to use another attack with, right? So there's so many ways you can sprinkle this across the character. Its ultimate utility gives you a bunch of stuff to do. Or do you go with Assassin? So you jump heavier into dealing damage. That is the kind of role here with Assassin over Thief. Now, both of these get sets of abilities at level 9, which we're not going to take a look at because both of them just kind of make them invisible and it doesn't really matter. So Assassin, though, you get this. Assassinate Initiative. You are deadliest against unprepared enemies. In combat, you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. If they're surprised, yeah, that's great. Any successful attack roll against a surprise creature is a critical hit. But as long as you're going first, you get advantage on all attack rolls. And you're probably going to go first with 11 goddamn initiative, so don't even worry about it. You're going to get that attack roll out. And if you surprise them, even better. And you can surprise things by stealthing into place and then using your attack action to, well, trigger that surprise and that ambush. And there's plenty of times in the game when you jump into a room like, oh god, we didn't expect you, and they're surprised. Plenty of times that you're going to deal with surprise people. And there's also Assassin's Alacrity. Quick as an alley cat in a rain dark city, you immediately restore your action and bonus action at the start of the combat. So why this is important is you can use all sorts of actions and bonus actions to get into place to trigger a surprise. And if you're using those bonus actions and actions to get in place, and I advise you, if you're trying to do this, use the turn-based mode, right? Where you can click the little button in the lower right and it turns the game into a turn-based mode. You use that to navigate around the game so that you don't accidentally walk into range of someone who's moving and ruin your sneak. And when you do that, though, if you've been jumping, if you've been dashing, if you've been doing whatever, it's going to cost you actions and bonus actions. Well, this way, as soon as you start combat, those are just back online for you. And it also can be kind of gamey where you can quaff like a potion right before you jump into combat and your action and bonus action are restored rather than having that bonus action being down before you jump into combat. So I'm going to choose Assassin for this build because I want to. Assassin, I think, is a little bit more of an advanced pick because it requires you to just kind of know the game a little bit better, I guess you could say, and what engagements you're coming up against. But it's what we're going to be choosing here today. From there, though, we're just going to keep going, get some more action. I'll just go with, I don't know, sharpshooter. And you know what? I'm going to do this one. I'm going to take that route. We'll kind of keep spelunking through this. Get this. Uncanny Dodge, using your lightning quick reflexes to protect yourself. When an attack hits you, you only take half the usual damage, which is lovely. And after reaching level 6, we'll get the ability to change our skills if you want. I'm fine here, but we can't go one more level because, again, I'm not level 12. I'm terrible. But if we get one more level, which you will be doing, level 7 Rogue is where you're going to stop, you'll get Uncanny Dodge. And what that does is it allows you to do a dexterity saving throw against spells. If you fail, you only take half damage. If you succeed, you take no damage. So it allows you quite a bit of resistance. But all this kind of comes together to have a secondary conversation because your levels will have dictated something very specific about your combat capabilities. So let's take a look now at Sneak Attack. The Sneak Attack, we've talked about it a little bit before, you know, and how it scales, how it works damage, right? You deal extra damage to a foe you have advantage against. Before, you probably saw it was like 1d6, wasn't very awesome, right? Well, take a look at it now. So it's showing the total amount of damage that we're going to be able to do, plus the 3d6. That 3d6 is the actual sneak attack damage. The 1d8 plus 18, that's our sharpshooter base attack damage. Here, I'll show you. You can see that right there. Well, it's right there. But either way, here, this is a better way. There we go. I was like, man, where do I show this? Range attack 1d8 plus 18. Now with the sneak is the 3d6. So what happens is on odd number levels of rogue, this goes up by 1d6. So level 1 and 2 is 1d6. Level 3 and 4 is 2d6. Level 5 and 6, what we're at right now, is 3d6. And why we're stopping at level 7 rogue is that this jumps up to 4d6 additional damage. That is stupid good. That is stupid good. So it's like 4 to 24 more damage being shot on target, which is so strong. But that is how our sneak attack works. Just wanted to talk about it very quickly. Remember, you do either have to be hiding or just have some sort of advantage, or an ally within 5 feet in order for this to trigger. When it comes to equipment for the character, let's have a conversation about your bows. So you don't really get a lot of really amazing bows in the game until really Act 3. You're going to get a bow called the Hunting Bow in Act 1, and it's actually really goddamn good. You have advantage against monstrosity type enemies and weapon enchantment +1. That's going to really last you for a long time in this build. You'll get like a jolt thrower bow early on in Act 1. It's all right. We're not really using lightning charges, so it's kind of meh. You'll get a really good crossbow from doing the stuff at Joaquin's Rest in Act 1 as well, and that carried me all the way until Act 3. I'm not going to lie to you. But there's some other bows that we're going to talk about as well, and there's some bows that I don't even actually have that are even better for this build. But the two I want to show off are the Bow of the Banshee here. On a hit, possibly inflict Frightened, gain 1d4 bonus to attack and damage against frightened creatures. Frightened is, and you'll get this here in Act 2, Frightened is a really good mechanic. Cannot move. Frightened entities also have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. So if you can land this, it's really nice. So you'll be able to kind of lock them down, and you'll have a 1d4, basically like a free blast, quote unquote, into attack and damage against those creatures, which is really solid. And again, happens in Act 2 if you want to use a bow. My crossbow was dealing out Bane, so I just kind of stuck with it. Now, the other bow that you can get is really good is the Dead Shot. You get this from an Act 3 merchant. Now, the other bow, before I talk about Dead Shot here, you'll get in Act 3 if you take a certain route through the game. So I'm not going to show it, but you can get it's a legendary bow. It's like the only legendary bow in the game. And I'll be totally honest with you, I actually like Dead Shot more than this bow, because this hinges more upon than that bow, but because Deadshot hinges more upon crit strike damage. So let's look at Deadshot. The number you need to roll a crit hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack, and there's lots of ways that you can get that exact effect onto items, and we're going to talk about that too with our melee weapons in just a second. So this allows us for our crit strikes to land on 19 rather than 20. And Keen Attack, the wielder doubles their proficiency bonus when rolling range attacks with this weapon unless they have disadvantage. That's stupid strong. So to put in perspective here, this should show it, I think, in this screen. No, in this screen. Our proficiency bonus is +4. So the wielder doubles their proficiency bonus +8 when rolling range attacks with this weapon unless they have disadvantage. So it's just really, really, really goddamn good. As far as hand crossbows go, just to show it off, Hellfire hand crossbow is the one you want to get. You're going to get this at the end of, you're going to get this in Act 2 in the Shar's temple. Possibly inflict burning when hitting a creature with this weapon while hiding or invisible. It has +2 on it, and it has Scorching Ray shot. And in Act 2, at the actual tower, the Moonlight Tower, the vendor has a really good hand crossbow as well. You just use those two for like the entirety of the game, and you're good to go. It's kind of why I also don't like hand crossbows. They never feel like they evolve. I feel like my character's done by Act 2, and like, nah, that feels kind of crappy. Now, for our melee weapons, use whatever you want. Really, like, you can use whatever thing kind of comes to mind, whatever you find in the game that kind of sticks out for you. Go ahead and use it. There's nothing that's going to really kind of make or break your character. You can see here that I've got Dolores Amoris. Now, there is a bow, the vicious short bow, that has the same effect here. When you land a critical hit with this weapon, it deals an additional +7 or additional 7 damage. You can have that on a short bow too if you want. It's pretty cool. I just prefer the Deadshot. I think it's a little bit better. And if you don't want to help the Thieves Guild in Act 3, then you won't get that bow. So this is easier. A generic merchant sells this. And I just have a dagger +2 on. But some other really good weapons are Knife of the Undermountain King in Act 1. When the wielder scores a critical hit when rolling a 19, when they roll 2 damage or less, reroll the dice, taking the higher result. So it's easier to get a crit hit with that specific weapon, but you have advantage on attack rolls against lightly or heavily obscured targets when using this blade. Also, you have got the Rhapsody, which is from doing a quest in Act 3 as part of the main story. You cannot miss it. Gain +1 bonus to attack rolls, damage, and spell DC for every foe you slay up to a max of +3. Just a static bonus. Also, possibly inflicting bleeding when hitting a creature with this weapon while hiding or invisible. If you want to go with a melee route, you don't even need to use the actual weapon. It's just kind of nice to have. But lastly is Bloodthirst, which you'll get from doing a Asterion storyline. Improved critical. The number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. Best effect can stack. So your bow, your Deadshot, now it hits on an 8, critical hits on an 18. So it just makes this a really nice weapon to take advantage of. Exploit weakness to pierces this weapon, it receives vulnerability to piercing damage. So it's nice if you want to use this for melee, but the improved critical will stack regardless of if it's a ranged or a melee attack. So it's nice to kind of use all these weapons in conjunction with this class that's all about alpha striking. Now, outside of that, the actual armor and equipment that we've got going, we have a lot of really cool options you can take advantage of throughout the entirety of the game. Pretty much just stick to light armor until you get a pretty good medium armor piece. Keep in mind, the reason we're doing that is because medium armor imparts a disadvantage on stealth. Unless you want to take that disadvantage and just say you don't give a crap, you're not going to deal with stealth. So just keep those things in mind. Choose the armor that makes sense for the playstyle you have in mind for your character. So what I'll show off then is the helmet pieces. So this is the Flawed Helldusk helmet. It's a nice one, but it's medium armor, so don't use it if you're not going to use medium. The Shadow of Menzoberranzan is a really solid one because you get shrouded in shadows here. You just simply get the ability to turn invisible. So you've got so many sources of invisibility. This is just kind of like a nice one to have if you want to have an additional source. You've also got the Covert Cowl, which is the one I'm wearing right now. While obscured, the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack. Remember all the other items we've been talking about? Now we can crit hit on 17. Dexterity saving throws +1. This is nice because it's going to stack with our evasion, and you get this super early in the game, and you can use it for the entirety of the game if you want. Also, you can take advantage of a lot of the armor if you want to use the medium portion of it. All the Shar's armor. So Dark Justicar helmet here, wielder gets a +1 bonus saving throws against spells, but while obscured, the number you need to roll a crit hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack, and Constitution saving throws +1. For our cloak, I just went with the Cloak of Protection, armor class +1, saving throw +1. There's a really good cloak that you can get in the Thieves Guild. I don't have it, but if you don't go with the Thieves Guild too, you won't be able to get it either. If you go with the Dark Urge, you'll get a really good cloak that's really strong for this build. So if you go Dark Urge, you can get a really good cloak very, very, very early in the game. As far as our chest pieces go, your medium armor, you can use Adamantine Scale here. Again, disadvantages on stealth check, of course. And the Dark Justicar plate, this is nice. While obscured, the wearer has advantage on stealth checks and advantage on Constitution saving throws. You also get Shar's Aegis, which is going to give you Aegis, +2 to your armor class. So you can use this if you want to be a little more spicy. But you also have Drow studded leather armor very early on, +1 to stealth. Spider silk armor if you kill Minothra. Gain +1 bonus to stealth checks and advantage on Constitution saving throws. It also looks really sick. Look at that Drow armor, maybe. Lastly, too, we have the studded leather armor +2. This is just light armor. You take 1 less bludgeoning and you get +1 to your initiative rolls. All the hide armor in the game, +1 to your initiative rolls, +2 to your initiative rolls. So you can take advantage of that generic armor until you get some of this more specialized one. But the best possible armor, if we're thinking of just like overall survivability and everything, is probably the Armor of Agility. Adds your full dexterity modifier to your armor class. Additionally, this armor does not impose disadvantage on stealth ability checks. So I would probably use, personally, like the Drow studded leather armor or Minanthra's armor coming up until I got to Act 3 where I could use the Armor of Agility. And then boom, just place it on. Or if I really wanted to stack my initiative, I'd go with hide armor or studded leather armor and go with that from there. Or if I wanted to stick with the visual aesthetic of like a ranger, I could go with maybe the studded leather armor. There's also like exquisite studded leather armor that you can get in the Thieves Guild as well. But I don't have that yet. So those are your options here for some armor pieces. Now into the gloves, you have got Gloves of Archery, which you're going to get in Act 2, and they're very good. You gain proficiency with longbows and shortbows. Don't worry about that. You got it. But in addition, your ranged weapon attacks deal an additional 2 damage. So you're going to put them on, and you're probably never going to take them off until you get a specific set of gloves that you get from Act 3 dealing with Raphael. I don't want to have any spoilers in this. Martial Exertion gloves are also really good if you want to go with more of a melee route. Push past your physical limits, taking that much damage to gain an additional attack per turn and do double your movement speed. I don't know why I said melee route, but you can use this regardless because it's just an additional attack. So you have that capability if you so wish, but you'll get these so early, you just stick them on and set it and forget it. You can use the Gloves of the Absolute before then. You'll get them that quick in the game. As far as your boots go, you have a lot of options. So, yeah, you can look at these. Blackguard Greaves gain long strider and +1 athletics, better than medium armor if you want to take that route. But boots have very fast blinking, gives you Misty Step until you get your own Misty Step turned on. But the nice thing about this one is it exists outside of your spell slots, and Misty Step in general is a bonus action, which is one of the best things about it. But this uses a spell slot, this doesn't. Conversely too, there's Boots of Speed, which uses clicked heals. Your movement speed doubles, and enemies have disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you, assuming you didn't take maybe the mobile trait or whatever. So this allows you to kind of get away from things a little bit faster and differently than your normal dash. And it is innately a bonus action, which is lovely. But I'm going to be using here the Disintegrating Nightwalkers can't be enwebbed, entangled, or ensnared, and can't slip on grease or ice. It's just a really solid set of boots that you can use. You get them very early in the game too, and you just kind of have fun with them. We'll stick them in the slot and make do. As far as some of our jewelry goes, we have the Crusher's Ring, which is going to increase our movement speed by 10 feet, always solid. The Spurred Band, during combat when the wearer starts with their turn with 50% hit points or less, they gain momentum. Also though, the Killer Sweetheart is just so good because it's basically an auto critical hit. Very crucial. For our necklaces, we have the Amulet of the Harpers. Advantage on wisdom saving throws is very good because this is for charm person or anything that would affect your wisdom. Any kind of willpower save, basically, if you want to think of it that way. Frighten, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, all those spells are wisdom saves. But also you get Shield, which is just a free reaction AC bonus, right? So my 19 AC jumps me up to 24 AC, right? So nice little ditty there. But also too, Amulet of Misty Step, just another form of Misty Step that you can take advantage of. And Moondrop Pendant, when the wearer has 50% hit points or less, they don't provoke opportunity attacks. So just another kind of layer of insulation for your character, so you can move around the battlefield quite easily. But this is your equipment, lots of things to take advantage of, and you get a lot of it super early in the game. And the nice thing is you're not really locked into something that has to occur at Act 3. Aside from maybe the dead shot, but still, either way, your character can be pretty online through the majority of the game, which is very fun. So here we are. I'm set up into a little bit of an alpha strike. I wanted to make sure I was lightly obscured. So anytime you hold down shift, you can kind of see where everything is, or if you immediately go into hide, you can see everything. These red obviously denotes that people can see you, but when you take a look at that little sun, that means you are not obscured, and the little half sun is partially obscured, and when there's no circle in there at all, you are fully obscured. But at least being partially obscured triggers some of the effects of some of the items we've talked about. So we've gone ahead and put ourselves into turn-based mode so that I can illustrate how surprising someone works, because that's an important part of this as well. You can surprise any character who doesn't expect you to make an attack, pretty much. You have to do this, though, from a position of being at least partly or lightly obscured, partly obscured. So let's say here we're going to go ahead and pop this, and we're going to just try and get a shot on here. I kind of put myself in a weird position. Let's see what I can do. Cannot reach, cannot reach. There we go. Sometimes it'll make you kind of move, and we don't want that to happen. So we're at 99%. We have advantage. Let's go ahead and use a sneak attack here. Now,
assaulting someone.
You just go ahead and press attack, and you can see that this doesn't really work. I got this to work in an instance before this, but it just required a lot of like finicky. Someone had to report me to the guards rather than the guards try to attack me. So in this example, it's unfortunately not showing surprise. But every other way you would do this, let's say that this was a hostile monster, this would trigger them to be surprised, meaning that they would not go in their respective slots. They would roll initiative, but they wouldn't go. Your whole team gets to go first. So unfortunately, I didn't get to showcase that here right now, but I still get Dread Ambusher. And as you can see, my actions have replenished. So I'm back to having full actions, even though we used sneak attack on this target right to start off, and they're almost already dead. So we have assassinate initiative here. Movement speed increased by 10 feet. Affected entity can make a weapon attack as a bonus action that deals an additional 1 D8. You can see Dread Ambusher right here as a bonus attack. So this is kind of why I was talking about your thief can kind of get a lot of stuff going on here, right? Like, oh man, you know what? We don't need to use Dread Ambush or hide, even though we're no longer hidden, right? I could have instead used my bonus action to go into hide, then use my other bonus action to use Dread Ambush or range right here. In this case, though, just to kind of showcase more of the actual character. Remember, we started off with the ability to get that advantage on ensnaring strikes, so we can use that right here. We could go ahead and pop ourselves into Dread Ambush or hide, hopefully actually passing the successful sneak attack, or I'm sorry, hide. And after that, we could go ahead and use a sneak attack again if we wanted, so another 3d6. I'm just going to go ahead and showcase the Dread Ambusher ranged, just so you can see. Oof. Gonna pull the camera over in that direction, right? So you can see we are able to get a quick shot off on her. Now, I kind of used Misty Step to get up to these locations, and originally I'd actually planned this ambush over there, but this is kind of something I want to really showcase with this build that I don't think a lot of these videos have really talked about. They said, oh, the build's really cool and really great and really awesome, but you can have a lot of fun setting up these ambushes if you kind of pay attention to the game, you watch where they kind of patrol and stuff like that. You can have a lot of fun with this. And we still have some stuff that we can do. So let's go ahead and go into... we failed. I forgot that assassinate, it doesn't use it the bonus action. For some reason I thought I did, so ignore what I said earlier, but damn, I was hoping to get it to a ambush or hide and then immediately go into sneak attack range here. Now, we can use sneak attack because we still have, what is it? We still have advantage, right? So let's take a look at this again. Deal extra damage for foes you have advantage against, and that's the crucial thing here. You don't have to be in sneaking, so we do have advantage on them, which I didn't process when I was talking about earlier. So we can go ahead and just go ahead, boom, like this. And we're good to go. But hey, you know what? We get an extra attack out of it. You can't double attack a sneak attack here. But we can just go ahead and use like your piercing strike or just another range attack. And you can see we pretty much have two characters out of the fight right before anything even goes down. And had I been a little bit more wily, I could have cast Spike Growth here to get that down in this area. I could have cast Hunter's Mark with my bonus action rather than trying to hide right there. And then that could have done a little bit more damage. So maybe I wanted to take out this Steel Watcher. It would have helped me out. Or if I use Ensnaring Strike, remember, anything that is ensnared with our Ensnaring Strike, we get advantage on. I believe that's the case. Let's double check. Let's listen to all the things that I say in this video about all the things that I know that I am sometimes not right in. They have disadvantage on their saving throws. So you don't have advantage. They have a disadvantage on saving throws against your stuff. So I misspoke right there. But still, nonetheless, you could be using Ensnaring Strike right here, get them all kind of ensnared, or any kind of Hunter's Mark to increase that damage. So this kind of showcases how the damage and how the alpha striking works of this. And had we gone with Thief, we don't really need to get into this kind of crazy situations of trying to open up hard with a heavy ambush, because we just have all these bonus actions to take advantage of. We can pop into hide, we can shoot something, we can pop back into hide and stay where we are, or if we have a potion of quickness, we've got 2 bonus actions and 2 primary actions. We can sneak attack, hide, sneak attack, hide, sneak attack, hide, sneak attack. Or, heaven forbid, you have an actual character next to them. You just take advantage. Remember, they just have to be you have to have advantage, or you have to have an ally within 5 feet and you don't have disadvantage. So this is your assassin. This is your Gloomstalker. I took a little bit of a different approach here. I did not jump into the double hand crossbows because that is the best way to do this build. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's the way that everyone's been showing off and how to do it. But I honestly just don't like it. I think it's really gamey. I think it's really cheesy. And I think it doesn't really leave a lot of room for you to grow throughout the game. It's a static way to play the game that I think you just end up beating the game effectively in Act 2. Once you get both of those hand crossbows, it's just a matter of time before you just kill things very quickly in close combat, because those things do so, I'm sorry, not close, in range combat, because those things do so much damage. Add in your sneak attack, you're just doing even more. So, this is my take on the build. Hopefully you like it. Like I said, there's a million of these videos out here. If you have any questions, or if you have any comments or suggestions for other feats, other armor, by all means, let it be known in the comment section below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.